what the value is, but maybe you can't pay both of them $3 to $4 million.
Yeah, whatever the going rate is, right? Like, it's not going to work for two running backs when you've got offensive line to account for, and you've got quarterbacks, and you've got wide receivers and defense. I think it's just not possible to do it on that level with the revenue sharing, because it's a set amount of money in that pie, and everybody gets a slice commensurate with, I guess, their expected role. And he's the second running back, and so that's the challenge there. But maybe a St. Louis company, like, I think there's some hope of that. It's not my company. I wish I had one. I bought a Powerball ticket. If I win the Powerball, I will commit to being the NIL fundraiser for Jamal Roberts. I'll tell you right now, and here, if I win the Powerball, that's happening. But short of that, you need a business to, like, let's put him on a bag of chips. Let's get him in a pizza commercial. We got to get this thing going, man. Keep him.
What would you put the odds right now of Jamal Roberts actually being a Missouri Tiger next year?
Oh man, probably like 30%. I'm pessimistic about it just because of the nature of the situation.
Now, but at the same time, now Jamal Roberts is amazing, but is it the end of the world if he leaves? Like, from what I see is maybe you go from then Hardy getting, 65, 70% of the touches, you bump him up to 80%, and a backup running back gets 4 to 5 touches a game now. Like, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Like, Mizzou fans should be pressing the alarm bell, freaking out about it.
I agree that you can just give more of a workload to Hardy, but I am concerned because how many times did we see Hardy go out for a few plays or for a series or a drive with nagging injuries last year? Like, you have that protection when you've got both of them, that one of the best run games in the country is going to remain that way.
Yeah.
But if you like, who's your backup running back? Marquise Davis is in the portal. There's a lot of questions about what that would look like if Jamal Roberts does go. And so that's where I really come at it from, is just going, okay, what happens if there's an injury to Hardy? Is the run game even a strength of the offense anymore, the way that it obviously is designed to be? And by the way, I think he's faster at his, like, getting through the hole speed than Hardy. I do think there are some subtle differences in their styles that made the run game better. Every time Hardy would leave the game, it's like they've been trying to tackle a bowling ball, and here comes Jamal Roberts, where he's a little shifty. He'll get through the hole, and he's behind you before you know it. Like, there's a lot of value to having both of them. So not the end of the world, Grant, but I do think it matters. Like, yes. I don't think it's no big deal.
Yeah, funny tweet, and this was from Killian Wright from Drink, when asked about the transfer portal money and just the money that Mizzou kind of has. When you shop at Louis Vuitton, you can't get 105 bags. I mean, you have to be smart about where you put your money. And I don't know, what if it's, hey, we could get 2 or 3 linemen for this price, or a backup running back, and it's hard.
It is hard. I don't know if that's the breakdown, like 2 or 3 linemen, but certainly it does coincide with, what are we giving up to pay more for an RB2 than we otherwise would.
Exactly. And it hurts too, because Marquise Davis is probably entering the transfer portal. I believe he is actually going to enter it once the season ends. So Missouri will then be looking most likely for an RB2, especially, I think, Mizzou fans, this will hurt extra because you lose Kewan Lacey last year, and he's, a stud for Ole Miss, was on Doak Walker Award finalist with Ahmad Hardy, and now Jamal Roberts, I think, could be a Doak Walker Award finalist next year too if he leaves. Oh no, did we lose Brendan? We might have lost Brendan, but that's okay. Oh, there he is. Mr. Schaefer, you here?
We had to get some gasoline, so we had to switch off a Bluetooth, and that takes a second.
Gotcha.
We should be good.
I think we're good. We're good to go now. What I was saying is that with Kewan Lacey leaving last year, now he's a stud at Ole Miss. I think Mizzou fans will be getting a little bit of deja vu if Jamal Roberts leaves, that, now he's going to go be a stud at whatever school he goes to, and maybe be a Doak Walker Award finalist again, just like Lacey.
Yeah, I mean, but that's Roberts' talent level. I wouldn't hold that against him, or even say it's a mistake by Mizzou. Like, it just is the nature of the beast, because, like you said, are you going to say, oh, we don't have a right tackle to replace Keegan Trost that we can pay revenue sharing to, because instead we paid a second running back, double what the going rate would be in our roster construction. That's the problem with it, is just we know Jamal Roberts is good. Like, I think we thought Kawan Lacey was good. I certainly liked him a lot.
Yeah.
And then we got to see that play out. I can tell you right now, that's what will happen with Jamal Roberts if he gets picked up by another, Big Ten or SEC school. He'll be a top 3 rusher in that league and potentially a national finalist for some of these awards, right along with Ahmad Hardy. That's the other part of it, is like, you have this player that is elite at his position, and so that's why the situation is what it is.
I just think, though, that Drink quote is just a little bleak. The quote of asking for more money from third party, asking for St. Louis somebody to step up, and it kind of reminds me of his quote a few weeks ago talking about the Fortune 500 companies. Like, who knows? Maybe somebody will come out of the woodworks, but to that happening, I think I'm with you about 25-30% to keep Mr. Roberts.
Hey, but you know what? I'll give you a bright side on this. Like, let's say we'll look at it as the glass half full.
Okay.
What if this quote was actually more like when Eli Drinkwitz was on Tiger and, not being able to keep Olubade and Zollers, and then he came back and said, "Oh, that was at his press conference," and then on Tiger Talk that night, he came back and said, "That was kind of off the cuff. We're keeping those guys. Don't worry about it." What if it was just like to illustrate that this is a possibility, but also we're going to figure it out? Like, that's my hope, is that it's kind of like one of those deals where he wants people to kind of be aware of what's going on and maybe get more money for Jamal Roberts, but that Jamal is maybe already considering staying at less. I don't know if that's what it is, but if you wanted to devise a glass half full angle, that's what it would be, I think.
Okay, I can agree with you there. And guys like Olubade and Zollers, thankfully, there hasn't been a lot of talk about the potential of losing those two since Drink really made those comments. So while we're on the topic of transfer portal, another guy, Javion Hilson, a DN, a freshman who was pretty touted, didn't get a lot of playing time this year, transfers, and now I'm losing him. Who was the DN, transferred to Nebraska last year, Missouri, high recruit. Oh, my gosh.
Williams Nwaneri. Oh,
yes.
I was not understanding what you were saying.
Thank you. Okay. I'm getting deja vu to him as well. Obviously, not as high as a recruit, but it's tough with high school recruiting, and I think that the new strategy we're seeing is you got to recruit these 4 or 5-star guys that you think will get on the field immediately. Maybe the 3 stars will stay and develop, but in this era of transfer portal, it's hard to keep kids who don't play their freshman year, or at least by their redshirt freshman year.
Okay, so I disagree a little bit with that. It's generally true, but the problem with that strategy, if that's going to be your goal, is that you really can't realistically know which freshmen incoming are going to play for you right away.
Yeah.
As a coach, you can't know.
No, I know.
You've watched them, you've scouted them, you've taken the helicopter to see them when they're playing high school ball. But until you get them into the room, and if they can early enroll for spring, that's always good. But you still don't really know what you have in those guys until you get them on campus and get them into a fall camp. So as much as in theory that's great, having more stars by your name, or being a top 54-star instead of a top 100 doesn't necessarily indicate guaranteed freshman production, or that you're going to play those guys. Because there were guys in that defensive end room that were freshmen that played above Javion Hilson with lower ratings. So that's where it's difficult to ascertain ahead of time, which of these guys are actually worth going after. The rule I would set, it applies to Javion Hilson directly. I'm not going to spend any energy trying to flip a prospect toward the end of the signing period.
Yeah.
There is no purpose, because we know at that point that it's money that's doing it, right? Like, if I'm going to convince you to flip, I don't think there's any value. I don't care about flipness anymore. I don't want it for my program. Drink has been very good at it, and I think in some sort of way it does give momentum to the program.
Yeah.
But because it's publicity, but it has not materialized in production. And if we're going to continue to have the mantra of production over potential, you can look back to Nwaneri. Well, he signed in August, but that was still like obviously a big financial commitment. Kawan Lacey was a late flip. There was Courtney Crutchfield that was a wide receiver that was a late flip. And that's exactly what Javion Hilson was as well. None of those guys are still in the program. And what did you get for them? Nothing. So what I would do is say, get your 4 stars, but like Donovan Olupide signed in July of 2024, right? That was the case where they got a 4-star. They liked the kid, but they weren't spending recruiting energy, momentum, and money at the last minute to try to flip a guy and change a kid's decision because of financials. If you're going to do that, you do need to know they're going to play right away. But you can't know, Grant, and so that's how I would change it. I would say, don't worry about the flips at the end. Still go get your 4 stars, but it's the 4 stars that you signed and were committed the whole way that are going to be worth it. And then maybe some of those turn into freshman contributors like Olupide.
And I think too, it's if you remember correctly, Olupide, we weren't really sure if he was even going to play that much this year. We were excited about him. We saw some training camp highlights, and maybe the people inside knew Olupide was going to play. But I think when we were talking about the offseason, Olupide wasn't a guy that we were like, yeah, he's going to make an instant impact. He's going to be that guy. Like, Olupide turned into maybe the wide receiver 1 for some games, definitely a wide receiver 2 throughout the season. And it's part of the reason probably Josh Manning's transferring away from Mizzou because his production was down because of Olupide.
Yeah, because he knows Olupide is the one coming back. And you couldn't have known in training camp that it was going to be Olupide that was a freshman that demanded playing time. But as camp goes on, that gets the attention of the coaches, and eventually he worked his way in. Like, Drink doesn't want to really seem to play freshmen right away, even the ones that look great. And Olupide was so good that he forced Drink's hand. It's like, yeah, we got to give him more snaps. So I think that's the way it's supposed to work. And it's not to say he was some bum as a high school player. He was a 4-star, but he was a 4-star that you had committed since the previous summer, and you got him to campus the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
You didn't waste energy at the last minute trying to convince a kid to change his mind by throwing a bag of money at him. I'm not saying Olupide didn't get NIL. I'm sure he did. But it's the timing of it to where, like, go ahead and still high school recruit. Get the 3 stars and 4 stars that you don't have to, try to convince at the very end to flip. That era is dead. There's no value in that. And that's why, if you think back to a couple of weeks ago with the signing day, it was kind of meh, right?
Yeah.
Like you weren't blown away necessarily by this class. And I'm going to say that is a good thing. I've been saying this going back to, 6-8 months ago, and our friend Andy on the Big Show would disagree with me. I just really feel I would rather have a on paper, very blah recruiting class with a bunch of names, but nobody that's like a 5-star. And then those are the guys that you may be able to keep on campus for 3 years and develop, rather than have them chasing a bag, because they're there for the reasons that Drinkwitz talks about being the right reasons, right? I'm not saying give your money is bad, but those are the kids that you can develop as a foundation and then develop contributors that take a couple years to blossom. But then you're going out in the portal, and when you're buying those guys, you're paying big, but you're getting immediate contributors. That is the way to build the roster, and I think Drake really sees that very well at this point.
I agree with you, except I think I'd want to add 1 star. Like, give me the kids, the 3 stars, the low 4 stars that you think will stay and develop for a while, but I need a superstar. Give me the stud receiver, the quarterback, the DN, whatever it is. I need a playmaker that I think can contribute at least 1 within the next year or 2. That's where
That's fair.
would want to add.
But I would want to get that kid in a way that tells me there's sustainability.
Yeah.
Like, always go after the local kids. If there's a St. Louis area kid or a Kansas City area kid that's a 5-star, I do believe the value of locking down those borders, because there is a lot of talent in those 2 areas that could be a pipeline for you. And we saw with Luke kind of open back up to the East St. Louis and the different programs in the St. Louis area that, you're able to access. That matters for sure. If it's a 5-star playmaker, Grant, that I have to convince with money at the end, I don't want it. I would rather pay that money to a similar position in the portal if I need that position. Because if it's in the portal, I can be pretty damn sure he's going to play.
Exactly. That's a good point, and that brings us to the point of portal. If we're talking about it, who are some other guys you can envision transferring out? We've had Josh Manning, really probably is the biggest name of a guy that played a lot this year. Do you see one of these quarterbacks, Bo Pribula? I don't really know what Sam Horn, if Sam Horn going to the Dodgers, considering transferring.
He's going to go to the Dodgers.
Or Matt Zollers. Which one do you see, if any, transferring?
I literally have no idea what will happen at quarterback. It's kind of exciting. I would say Zollers is going to be here, if I had to guess. Of like anything you could ask me to say, hey, you got to bet on it and be right. What would you put your money on? It would be that Zollers stays, because he was never supposed to play this year.
Yeah.
And so he ended up playing more than anybody, including him, probably thought he would. I'm not saying that Drink told him he had no chance. He kind of said the opposite during the QB battle. But it's also one of those where you miss your whole senior season in high school. You're recovering from that injury. You're very raw. Like, you probably know I could learn behind some guys and get acclimated to college. And I'll tell you, it probably was the case that he expected the whole way to come in next year and at least compete, no matter who else was there, for a chance to be the starter.
Yeah.
Unless Pribula had like a Heisman season, and then you transfer. But that didn't happen, right? So I would say Bo is the wild card, because there were the rumblings that Penn State might be interested in getting him back. Like, would Mizzou even mind that? Because if he signed somewhere else, maybe Mizzou doesn't have to pay his buyout, and they're not really looking to start him anyway. Like, if that's the case, so I definitely look at that and think it's possible. It just feels more likely that Zollers would stay unless he gets real big eyes after playing a little bit and said, oh, I want to go somewhere where I can make sure to play again.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't perform in a way that made you think he's the locked-in starter anywhere else he would transfer. So I think he would stay. Pribula is the question. If Pribula goes, you can put his NIL and maybe even more into trying to get whoever you think the best transfer quarterback in the portal is this time. And look, Drink's going to get a chance to hire an OC that he wants to emphasize the passing game, as he talked about yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised if Bo transfers. I won't be able to tell you it was because they told him to, because he's not the starter, or because he wanted a different opportunity. But if you're going to emphasize the passing game, you may need personnel to do that. And that could include going after a transfer quarterback. And if you're Zollers at that point, you're like, whatever, if it's a 1-year transfer, I've still got 2 years where I can go and be the starter at Missouri in the SEC. So I'll wait. All those things could happen to me, Grant. But I think Zollers stays. Bo might stay too, but I really don't know. Do you have a take on how this is going to shake out?
Well, yeah, I think too with Zollers, it could be, well, shoot, I get 3 years of eligibility if the starter comes and plays and doesn't get hurt, and Zollers is redshirted. Maybe he stays for 3 more years, although Mizzou fans would be hoping that he has 2 good years and doesn't need a 3rd year because he's going to the NFL. I think that would be most ideal. I think what could happen if Bo Pribula were to transfer, it's because Mizzou brings the guy in first. Mizzou brings, I don't know, top transfer quarterback in, let's say Raiola. I'm just throwing a name out there. Then Bo sees the writing on the wall, is like, all right, this isn't going to work out for me. They're going to start him. Now I'm out. I would be surprised if it's Bo first. I think Bo will react to a move.
I don't know. I don't actually agree with you, but only because of the finances of it. To bring somebody in, you're going to have to pay big.
Yeah.
They are paying Bo big, and they're paying Matt Zollers. I don't think you can take the gamble if you're Missouri that Bo doesn't just sit down and go, that's fine, I'll be the backup. And
that's true.
I'll make my money. You can't. I don't think you can do it that way unless you know he's likely. Like, you could nudge him by saying, hey, we're going to pursue somebody and he doesn't know the finances, so maybe he takes the bait. But I'm also not saying that Eli Drinkwitz wants Bo Prabula to leave, because what if Eli's plan is, hey, screw it, I want to be paying 3 quarterbacks because I don't want to risk what happened last year when he had to turn to somebody who wasn't ready. So it could go a number of ways, Grant. I don't expect it. It would be very interesting if it happened that way, where they go out and get somebody first. But that would surprise me. So
top quarterbacks in the market: Sam Levitt, Drew Mestamaker, DJ Lagway, Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati, and Dylan Raiola. I think the only one of those 4 that, if you're looking as a Mizzou fan, that would be, if they're looking for a quarterback, the only one you couldn't get is Mestamaker. I would be shocked if he is not an Oklahoma State Cowboy following his coach there. But out of those 4, if, let's say, Mizzou had a chance at one of them, who would it be that you would want?
Oh, boy. I like Sam Levitt. I think all the big programs are going to be in on him, though, and there's going to be a sticker shock. So I don't think he's that much better than running it back with Bo and Zollers to make that financially worth it. Who's that option? I don't think. Sorsby's interesting. I don't know how good Raiola is. And I think he'll get paid more than he's worth. Like, I'll wait and see. The portal doesn't open till January 2nd. There will be more quarterbacks that enter. And then I think that's how Drink will play it as well, is to really try to put out feelers, but also, wait and see kind of what's out there. I believe him largely when he says he's just focusing on the bowl game right now and getting the offense ready without Kirby Moore. So, we'll see what ends up happening there. Have we talked about the Kirby stuff yet? I guess that happened late last week. You and I haven't talked about it.
We haven't talked about it yet. Let's go to a quick break, though, first. Come back, and we're going to talk about Kirby Moore. He leaves to take the job at Washington State, the head coaching job there. So Brendan Schaefer and myself will talk about that right after this quick break.
Hot Take Central 2.0.
Now, as you sports fans know,
it's really getting out of hand, man. It's going way out of control.
With Cam Jansen.
I'm going to lead you down the path that rocks.
And Jimmy the Cat Hayes.
You're a legend in the city, moving by day instead of night.
Weekday mornings from 8 to 10.
hell yeah.
Only on the Lou Information Station. Streaming 24/7 at louinfo.com. Hot Take Central 2.0.
This whole situation is getting out of control.
You've been strong for everyone else, but let me ask you, who is strong for you? I am Jennifer Bardot, radio personality, author, and publisher, and the founder of Grit Association, which stands for Growth, Resilience, Intention, and Tenacity. What is grit? Grit is a movement, a sisterhood, a space where ambitious women grow, lead, and thrive. This isn't just leadership. This is transformation. Grit is your circle of fire, where comfort zones get shattered, where stories become power, and the next level becomes your new normal. From our 7 international anthologies that elevate women's voices to my radio show, Elevate and Lead, on the Lou Information Station, everything we do is about your rising, your voice, your power, your people. Are you ready? Join Grit. For more information, visit mygritcommunity.com. That's mygritcommunity.com.
LouInfo.com news headlines. Brought to you by Brown and Crouppen. GetBC.com.
Your LouInfo.com news report. A 13-year-old boy is recovering at the hospital after he was shot Tuesday night in North St. Louis Baden neighborhood. The shooting happened around 7:30 p.m. in the 800 block of Canaan Avenue. The St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department said the boy was hospitalized and would be okay. Evette Chapman said around 9:20 p.m. on Saturday she saw a flickering coming from her next-door neighbor's house. She said she came to the front door and I saw a lot of smoke coming from the house. I ran back in and called 911. She said the flickering quickly grew into a fire that engulfed her neighbor's house on Odessa Drive. It went up in flames really quickly, she says. The North County Fire and Rescue Protection District says that firefighters located a 9-year-old girl on a bed and carried her out through a window. The girl was rushed to an area hospital but did not survive. For the Lou Information Network, streaming 24/7 at louinfo.com and the free Lou Info app, I'm Julio Flores.
Now, louinfo.com weather. Presented by STL Sports Central. St. Louis sports. Anytime, anywhere.
Here's your LouInfo.com weather update. Got some rain on the way late tonight and especially on Thursday, along with gusty wind. Strong low pressure system on the way into our area, along with a cold front. Today looks pretty good, mostly sunny, mid-50s. Showers and windy overnight. We're in the mid-40s. Rain and thunderstorms are likely on Thursday. We're in the mid-40s. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton for the Lou Information Station, streaming 24/7 at LouInfo.com and the free Lou Info app.
This is Mizzou wide receiver Kevin Coleman Jr.
And I'm Mizzou linebacker Josiah Trotter.
When we hit the field, we have each other's back.
And off the field, we got James Carlton, State Farm covering us.
Thanks, fellas. Nothing beats college football season and nothing beats saving money. Just by getting a quote from our office and mentioning Mizzou, we'll make a donation to support Mizzou's will to win push on your behalf. No strings attached.
So you're supporting the team just by checking your rates. Doesn't get any easier than that.
It's so easy. Check them out online at carltoninsurance.net. MIZ-ZOU.
When you're building something new, you need a partner you can count on. I'm Big Toe Media founder Dave Green, and with our company, we didn't want just another bank. We wanted people who understood what we were trying to create and who were there for us every step of the way. That's why we chose Home Bank. From business lending to everyday banking, Home Bank has been much more than a bank. They're the kind of people who answer the phone, know your name, and believe in your vision. And the trust goes both ways. Home Bank doesn't just support our growth, they share in it. They take pride in helping local businesses succeed because they know when we win, the whole community wins. Business isn't just about numbers, it's about relationships. And with Home Bank, those relationships make all the difference. Home Bank is the team behind our team. Visit myhomebank.bank or call 855-577-2001. Home Bank, member FDIC, more than a bank. They're your business partner.
When you buy a hot tub, you want more than bubbles. You want value that lasts. At St. Louis Hot Tub Warehouse, their low overhead means premium American-made products priced better than the competition and the best price guarantee in town. They'll beat any local dealer on a comparable model. With over 38 years in business and 400-plus five-star reviews, you can trust they'll be there to service your spa long after the sale. St. Louis Hot Tub Warehouse, highest quality, best price. Visit besthotTubPrices.com today.
And welcome back to MIZ-Central on the Lou Information Station. Grant Salzman, Brendan Schaefer here with you. And late last week, the news broke that Kirby Moore would be taking the head coaching job at Washington State, leaving Missouri looking for a new offensive coordinator. Brendan, your reaction, and now that we've had a little bit of time to digest this news, your thoughts about Kirby Moore leaving his head offensive coordinator position to take a head coaching job.
Yeah, my reaction was, wow, how much power does Eli Drinkwitz have to be able to get a program 2,000 miles away to hire his OC as the head coach so that he doesn't have to pay him a buyout? That was absolutely brilliant. No, I think Eli Drinkwitz, in his heart of hearts, was sad to see Kirby go, but was also maybe a little agnostic on it because it does present an opportunity. I'm not saying I do not believe Kirby Moore would have been fired.
No,
I think he would have still been the OC next year. You're not going to pay a guy $1.5 million not to coach when you could easily just say, hey, we're going to either develop the quarterbacks better, and that's how we fix the passing game, or we're going to go and get different quarterbacks, which they may still do. So I think this works out well for Missouri because I think it's better that they do go in a different direction, but I don't think they were going to fire him. I think that Eli Drinkwitz talking on Tuesday about what he's looking for. He said, first of all, I'm not really focused on that right now. I've got a list, but I'm really trying to install the offense for the bowl game and get that done first before I think about the hiring, which I think is accurate. I do think he values being able to say, hey, we've won 9 games 3 years in a row for the first time in school history. Like, he cares about this bowl game, whether fans do or not. This is all part of his whole thing of, look, play for something meaningful. This is a reward for a job well done. Let's take it seriously. I think a lot of his guys that are even going to the NFL or may transfer are going to play in the game.
I do too.
They feel the same way. So I believe in there. I fact that he talked so much yesterday about emphasizing the passing game and emphasizing a play caller who's done it before and not going after a first-timer tells you that he was ready for the opportunity to make a change and is excited about it.
Yes.
Because I think he's identified where they've fallen short and may have continued to fall short had they not had this change kind of dropped into their lap. So I think he's excited about the opportunity to take what went well from the Kirby era and then take what maybe you want to improve upon and try to combine that into the next hire. I think it's a good thing.
I think it is as well. And I do think when we're talking about Kirby Moore, I think he gets a little bit too much, shtick from the Missouri fan base. Like, I think that this year was bad, but I think it was bad for a multitude of reasons. Bo was hurt, couldn't throw very well. Maybe he develops that better in the offseason. He comes back and looks better in the passing game. Zollers was a true freshman playing some tough teams. Like, you had an O-line. The O-line was just fine. Amada Hardy made it special in the run game. But I think back to 2 years ago, the way that he unlocked this run game and this offense, like the creativity that was going on in 2023 was unbelievable. And last year definitely took a little bit of a step back, but I think a big part of that was because Brady Cook was playing on one leg and half of an arm, maybe. And this year it grew stale, like really, really stale, which was pretty perplexing why it grew stale. Like, you would think when you lose all this talent, you need to be a little more creative to try to get the best out of your team, and that's just not quite what happened. But I still think it's Drink's scheme. Like, it's not like Kirby Moore got a chance to draw up his own scheme. This is what we're going to do. Like, it's an outside zone running team. That's what Eli Drinkowitz does. There was no giving there. And maybe Kirby then he basically gets to call the plays, but he doesn't get to create the scheme. So I think that a little bit of blame needs to be on Eli Drinkowitz as well. If you're mad about the offense this year, I understand being mad at Kirby Moore, but you also need to be a little bit upset with Drink, I think, because he has more of a hand in the offense than I think people realize.
I totally agree with you. And, Drinkwitz is a good self-evaluator. That's something that maybe I don't say often enough, but he learns and grows from his prior experiences incredibly well, to where I think he had frustration with the lack of creativity at times, understands maybe why that happened, because I imagine those meetings between Kirby and Drink throughout the week as they're planning for the next game looked a lot like shrugging your shoulders and going, I don't know what we're supposed to do. The guy can't throw. I don't know what, I think they were just up against it, not because, again, not to make excuses, because obviously this was a real opportunity over the past 2 years to make the playoffs, and they didn't get it done. But it is a fact that Brady Cook was injured last year at times. It is a fact that Sam Horn, probably your best downfield passer, was injured in your first game. It is a fact that Bo Prabula, your next best option, and probably could have still been your QB1. I'm not saying he wouldn't have been, but if Bo was the QB1 and got hurt, Sam Horn comes in, and you might be completely fine at that point and win the Vanderbilt game.
Yeah.
So, there are things that have happened over the last 2 years that are about the bottom of the barrel in terms of the luck factor when it comes to QB stuff. And, it stinks that coincided, because you got to run good sometimes, and they didn't run good. They didn't have good luck. It is unfortunate that coincided with the 2 years that the schedule was so makeable for the playoff, that not one of those 2 years could have been a clean bill of health for your quarterback and be able to get the most out of it. And frankly, you could even mention last year a clean bill of health for your running back, because that was the 1 year they didn't have an elite run game.
Yeah.
And Nate Noel was that guy, and he just couldn't stay healthy. Even when he played, he wasn't at 100% of what they thought he could be. And so that was, you lost a little bit of juice because of it. There's a lot of context that matters, Grant. I think you're 100% right. But at the end of the day, Drink can take the criticisms to heart and know what he needs to instill in the next guy to be able to succeed. Whether that's he knows we don't have the quarterback on the roster, so I'm going to get one. Or he knows that there needs to be a little bit more of an onus on the passing, an emphasis on somebody who comes in with a passing scheme that has experience, that can bring some new plays in, that can make that part of the game an equal responsibility. Because right now it's all on the run game, and that's just not a realistic way to win in the Southeastern Conference. You can't be one dimensional, and they got to where they had no choice.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was one dimensional, and it wasn't all Kirby Moore's fault. Like his run game, the run game that he was able to implement alongside Eli Drinkwitz was incredible for the last 3 years. Like you had one guy, Cody Schrader, who broke the school's single season rushing record, and a guy in Ahmad Hardy who's probably going to do it again. Like what's he need? 60 yards, 70 yards this bowl game to break the rushing record.
Not a big number.
He's probably going to do that. Like, credit to Kirby Moore on that. Like, his run fits were great. His scheme was great. Eli Drinkwitz's scheme is great. Now you got to find someone who can implement a passing game as well. My question to you is, and I'm not going to throw names out there because names are hard to come by. Who knows who's Drink's buddy or who Drink likes that can pull in, but would you want a guy, there's a couple different fits you could get as an offensive coordinator, maybe an old head coach, a guy who's kind of jaded to head coaching but still wants to be in the game, wants to be, coordinator, one of those guys, somebody that maybe has NFL experience, maybe a old coordinator or a offensive assistant that can come down now and call the plays, or would you want a guy that's kind of been a specialist his whole career of calling offensive coordinator, being an OC? What kind of model is there?
As you were talking, I decided that I disagree with you, and I do want to give you a name.
Okay.
I don't know if it's realistic. Go get Brian Dable.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I think he was maybe a little miscast as the Giants head coach, but I think he would be really good. Maybe I'm crazy. That's not a name that I've heard come up, so there's no reason to think that that's realistic. But the cycle is winding down, and he's not getting a college head coaching job, it doesn't appear. So I think that would be a really good landing spot for him, and maybe one for Missouri where you could get some emphasis. He's been good with quarterbacks. Now granted, he did get fired from the Giants because Jackson Dart goes into the concussion protocol in half of his games, and they run out quarterback so often. That would get Bo Perbula probably killed. But that's the name I just decided on the spot, Grant, that I like, because you mentioned an old head coach. I would be fine with that. I would be fine with an up-and-coming coordinator from a group of five that has just an unbelievable passing game. As long as he was the play caller there. Like at North Texas, the Mestamaker OC wasn't the play caller because it was Eric Morris. So you don't want to just say, take somebody because they had a great passing game. I want somebody who can call plays. The SMU guy, that's technically the ACC, so Power 4, would be interesting. But they've got a lot of money in SMU. They could probably pay to keep whoever they want to keep. But that would be interesting because they've got a good passing game. Yeah, I would be looking at somebody that's taken a step down from the NFL or, has prior experience there as a head coach or an OC. Or I would look at somebody that's on the rise, but the school they come from rated in the top 25 in passing yards this year. Like, it's clearly a passing approach. And Drinkwitz can blend his, outside zone scheme with what someone new could bring into the passing game. That would be my preference.
Can I give you a crazy name like you gave Dable?
Yeah.
A guy that just got fired from his position in the NFL, but is great in college. What about Chip Kelly?
So Chip Kelly was making like $6 million with the Raiders.
Yeah.
I know Mizzou's going to be able to pay its OC handsomely, but he hasn't been good in a while. Although I guess at Ohio State he was pretty damn good.
Yeah, they won the national championship.
I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like when people bring that name up, everybody kind of groans. There's really no reason to groan. I don't think he's ever failed as a college OC.
No.
So yeah, I would take Chip Kelly. I don't think it's going to happen. I would be excited if it did. It would be very interesting if it did. No, I don't mind that. I'm not going to poo-poo that like some people who don't know any better than you or I do pretend that, Chip Kelly. Like, why? Tim Kelly's only been great as a collegiate offensive coordinator.
Yeah, the only place that they weren't great at was UCLA, and he had that program.
He was the head coach.
Yeah, he was the head coach. I know he was calling plays, but he had that program in a decent spot for UCLA standards of the last 20 years before he left. But yeah, I think it's the passing game that is the most important. You got to find a way to scheme up easy throws. Missouri, it felt like this year, had no easy throws. The only one was maybe some screens. Like if it wasn't a screen, they didn't utilize the middle of the field at all. It was a deep ball. You know, like there needs to be more drags, slants over the middle of the field, easy for their QBs to get in rhythm, especially if it's Bo Pabula again. I feel like he's a guy, once he gets rolling, he's really dangerous and feels confident, but it was so start, stop this year in the passing game. It felt very rare that Bo ever actually got rolling.
No, I agree with you. And those are the things that they're going to look to try and address and change for sure.
I'm trying to think of other names, and I really can't. Another situation. Maybe you get a guy like in a situation like Pavia, where you bring the quarterback in and you bring the OC with them, like a guy that had success. I think that's what Miami did with Cam Ward as well, or was it Oklahoma did it with Washington State and John Mateer? That's what I'm thinking of. But you could bring a guy in that's a touted quarterback, and maybe you bring the OC with them just for a little bit more of persuasion almost.
I think you'd hire the OC first.
Exactly.
That you could convince the player. And I don't know off the top of my head who that's applicable to, if anyone, in this cycle. But I don't hate it. It's not a bad call at all. If there's an example out there that you could do.
Yeah.
There's just so many moving parts, Grant, because you also have to make sure that Bo or Zollers is leaving to free up the money, right?
Exactly.
So it's a little bit. But I guess if you decide to hire the OC and the quarterback doesn't come, that you still have the OC that can, be a good play caller. Hopefully, you're not calling. You don't want to hire a guy just because you can have their old quarterback for 1 year. But that's interesting.
Do you have anything else on football? We got a few minutes here. We can transition quickly to basketball if you don't have anything else.
No, I've got something else. Do we have to talk about the Michigan stuff, or are we not worried at all? I wanted to ask you.
I'm not worried. Are you worried?
There's a report out there that Michigan's search firm did contact Eli Drinkwitz's representatives, but they've also contacted a bunch of people. I am not currently worried about it. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm not presently worried about it, for those who are wondering.
I'll say this. Eli Drinkwitz seems like a pretty smart guy. I'm not saying that he didn't want to take one of those jobs or wasn't interested, but he signs his contract extension at Missouri. I say he seems like a smart guy because Michigan is a job right now that I would not want to touch with an 18-foot pole. You have the drama still with Harbaugh, that scandal. There's everything has kind of come to light with the cheating and stuff. Then you have this with Sharon Moore. Not that it really affects the program, not like there's going to be sanctions, but there's just something a little stinky about the Michigan Wolverine football program right now that I think you need to give it a year or two, and then maybe you entertain the idea of a job there. I don't think it's a job you want to touch right now.
I agree. Although we kind of said some stuff like that about LSU being a circus, and they got their number one choice. So sometimes when a job is as big as Michigan, people overlook some things, and they'll be convinced that I'm the guy to fix it, right? Like, that's a real possibility. And we know that Michigan's got NIL, the type that Drinkwitz talks about, right? Like, they're paying Bryce Underwood $5 million. They've got it like that. So that would be my one concern, is if they made a push, like, and let's say, too, they fired the AD and let a new AD do the hiring, because that's the one thing that I would say right now, there's no way Drink should be interested, because he's talked so much about the value of alignment and everybody being on the same page with the administration. He's got that at Missouri because he's got them wrapped around his fingers. He calls the shots, and they listen as they should. Like, that's how it should work when you've got a head coach who knows his stuff. so if he was able to come in and be the guy at Michigan that way, I could see the appeal of it. But right now, you've got more investigations coming, and the AD is I don't know that he's long for the job based on the way things have gone. So that's why right now I'm not concerned. If they make some changes and got the alignment and they really made a push and decided Drink was their guy, I'd be worried. But I think there's a lot of steps between now and that happening.
Well, and the thing is, you probably, if you're Michigan, you need to hire a guy in the next 2 weeks. Like, you need to have a head coach within the next 2 weeks, most likely, because that transfer portal is opening soon, and you don't want to be on the back end of it with not having a coach to get guys in or keep guys. So I think they're in a little bit of trouble right now if they don't appoint somebody soon.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree with you. So hopefully we find out soon what it is.
And I think on top of it, if Drink really was that open to leaving, like that, it would just take the Michigan job to open up. I don't think that contract would have been extended as much as it did. All the money, like there's just something about him just signing it that he just doesn't seem like that guy to leave right now. I'm not saying in a few years.
I agree, but we didn't think Blake Baker would leave. That's different because it was not a head coach role, but the same thing happened there. And the buyout isn't bigger. That's the one thing I wish was different about the new contract for Drake is that the buyout would have gone up, but it really didn't. And so we're going to be dealing with this in the future if he succeeds, but that's the mark of a good rising program. So it comes with the territory. I'd rather people be interested in our coach than not, because that would mean we're not any good.
Exactly. All right. We got about a minute. Tell the people a little bit more about the food drive going on in Columbia today.
Yeah, supports the food bank for Central and Northeast Missouri, and great annual event out there at the Columbia Mall. So we'll be taking people's donations, but you can also go online and donate if you'd like to for the food bank of Central and Northeast Missouri. I'll plug it because you can go to ktgr.com, the station I work for out in Columbia, and do that for a great cause. If you want to do these donations, they do some great work with the money that people donate to help folks in mid-Missouri. Obviously, here we're in St. Louis, but yeah, it's a great cause. So that's what I'll be out there doing this afternoon.
Awesome. Well, for Brendan Schaefer, I'm Grant Sauls, and we'll be back Friday, and we will be talking more basketball. I know Brendan will be dreading that.
Yep.
This is the Lou Information Station. Up next, it's Charlie Tuna and the Posse.
St. Louis sports fans, now you can go deeper with STL Sports Central Insiders.